Have you realized that the moments that shaped you most were those when no one applauded? Forget the photos of overcoming with motivational subtitles. True Stoicism is born in the silence of your particular struggle. While the world runs after validations, there is an invisible force being carved within you precisely through the pain that seemed unfair. It is not about looking strong on social networks. It is about being unshakable in your room at 3 in the morning, when the world collapses and only you and your tired faith is left. Believe me, who learns to use suffering as a forge doesn't need an audience, because transformation happens inside, where the eyes don't see, but the soul feels. In this content, we will break illusions, knock down cliches, and dive into a truth that few have the courage to face. Being real Stoic is not an elegant pose, it's a daily, silent and brutal battle. And if you stayed here, it's because deep down you know that this force already lives in you, you just need to be awakened. Get ready, because with each line you will find not only words but mirrors. Mirrors that will remind you of who you really are and who can still become, if you decide to use your scars as war coats of arms and not as currents of pain. Most people believe that the big battles of life happen outside jobs, relationships, accounts payable. But the true war happens in silence, within the mind, behind the scenes where no one sees. The biggest enemy you will face wears your own skin. Understanding this changes everything. The focus comes out of the outside and deeply plunges into self-control. The deepest pain is not one that screams or scandalizes. It settles in a quiet, discreet way, like a blade that cuts without warning. These are the losses you swallowed silent, the dreams that buried in your chest without a funeral. It is in this internal territory, without witnesses, that the true soldier is forged or surrendered. Moments of loneliness are not just difficult, they are revealing. When the laughs are silent, the invitations disappear and loneliness sets in. That's where we find out if we have roots or just appearance. Who depends on applause to continue? Wreck. Those who learn to walk in the desert becomes unbreakable. So the next time the silence beats heavy and the feeling of invisibility try to crush you, remember you're on the right battlefield. Each tear swallowed, each day overdue without audience is actually an invisible trophy. And believe me, it is these silent trophies that later support the greatest victories. Being strong is not about making inspiring speeches or posting beautiful phrases. To be strong, really, is to keep walking when no one sees you, when there are not even clapping to remind you that you are on the right track. Resilience is not displayed on spotlight, it is built behind the scenes, in the silent choices that no one will ever know. There is a special loneliness reserved for those who decide to resist. While the world runs after distractions to anesthetize pain, the resilient faces the emptiness with courage. He understands that the true evolution is done in the dark, in discomfort, on days when the universe has forgotten its name. And yet, he follows. The true strength is not the impressive, it is the one that persists. It's easy to stay firm when you are applauded, hard to move on when everything inside you screams to give up. And it is right now, exactly, that an invisible layer of power begins to form in your soul. True power, the one that no one can take. So when loneliness squeezes and tiredness seems unbearable, remember it is in this absence of witnesses that you are being cut. Each step taken in silence builds a fortress within you. And sooner or later, this silent force will speak louder than any voice around. Carrying rejections, betrayals, and losses without collapsing is a feat that few understand and even less value. The world sees the result, but never sees the daily weight you supported on your back. Each no that you swallowed, every disappointment you have kept, has been shaping something within you that you don't buy or learn in the books. These scars that no one sees are silent medals from those who have already faced the worst and remain standing. And look, a lot of people who smile easy today would break halfway through the pressure you have already endured. It's not about being better than anyone, but recognizing that your story has more steel than you think. Every pain you survived became an extra layer of invisible protection. A healthy hardening of the soul, not to become cold, but to become resilient. The difficulties did not erase their essence, they revealed a purer, stronger, more real version of those you were always destined to be. So the next time you feel the weight of difficult days, remember this is not a punishment, it is an elite training. You are being shaped to carry great purposes, not ordinary bales. And believe me, those who can handle the invisible end up gaining what seems impossible. Marcus Aurelius, one of the biggest names in Stoicism, did not write to the world, wrote to himself as a reminder that surviving was sometimes his greatest victory. There was no audience, likes or immediate recognition. There was only the silent struggle of an emperor trying to rule not only an empire, but especially himself. Large internal battles do not print headlines or turn trending topics. They pass inside their chests, in control of an explosion of anger, in the decision to maintain faith when everything suggests otherwise. The greatest Stoic heroes of history were, above all, masters in winning wars that no one ever knew they crashed. This silent force is rare and precious. Today, many confuse Stoicism with apathy, but the truth is that keeping calm while chaos screams requires fierce courage. You need to have chest to resist the urge to react to everything, to choose to ponder where it would be easier to explode. Tame it is much harder than facing external enemies. So if you have learned to hold your own sword when you want to attack the world, know you already walk with the great ones. The invisible war that you win every day is what makes you stronger. And the best of all, this kind of strength no one can ever steal from you. Perhaps you think your Stoicism is something distant, reserved for ancient philosophers. But the truth is that if you have already endured a pain without collapsing, you have already practiced true Stoicism. If you ever swallowed the cry to be strong by someone who needed you, even though it was destroyed inside, you already know this strength. Real Stoicism is not about quoting beautiful phrases, it is about having crossed storms without losing respect for yourself. It is to continue offering your best even when the world seems indifferent. And look, this you have done more often than you can tell, even if you have never received a medal for it. Think every time life has given you reason to give up, but you have decided to continue. It was not the motivation of an inspiring video that held you. It was something deeper, a silent force that forced you to put one foot in front of each other, even when it didn't seem to make sense. This is Stoicism in flesh and bone. So the next time you feel small because you still have internal battles, remember you are already a Stoic without diploma. Each pain surpassed, every disappointment overdue without losing its soul, is proof that you carry within yourself a much more vivid philosophy than any theory can explain. It is very easy to minimize history itself when life becomes routine and no one applauds our silent struggles. But stop and think what you survived would have destroyed a lot of people. Those days when you woke up without strength, but it has raised, they are marks of courage that not even you, sometimes, realize. The world normalized silent suffering, as if it were obligation to swallow everything without complaining. But resistance is not a lack of feeling, it is emotional maturity. You feel the pain, but don't allow it to define who you are. And that, believe me, is not common, it is a force that few have and deserves to be recognized. How many people have you seen if you get lost after a stumble? How many gave up dreams in the first big disappointment? You don't. You are here, standing, perhaps tired, maybe hurt, but still breathing, still fighting. Do not banish this as if it were little, it is a masterpiece of resilience built day after day. Then, instead of criticizing themselves for moments of weakness, celebrate the fact that you are still trying. Every small step you take when body and mind want to stop is an act of silent heroism. And, yes, resisting in silence is more great than a lot of noisy victory around. 1. Control what can and release what cannot. Most anxieties that suffocate you are born of trying to control the uncontrollable. You do not rule the behavior of others, in the city's traffic, or the unpredictability of life. But you can choose your answer to each of these situations. Freeing what escapes from your hands is an act of intelligence, not of weakness. Letting go does not mean giving up, means freeing the soul from useless weight. Imagine carrying a suitcase full of stones just because one day I told you it was important. To release what doesn't depend on you is to drop these stones and finally walk lighter. Your boat does not control the wind, but can adjust the candles. To practice this principle in everyday life is to start with the little things. Accept that the weather will change, that people will have different opinions, which unforeseen ones are part of the journey. Instead of fighting everything, learn to adapt wisely. The left energy can be invested in what really matters. So the next time you feel your chest tight for something you can't change, ask yourself, I control it? If the answer is no, let go. Trust that the peace found in this gesture will strengthen you to battle, with even more claw, in the areas within your reach. 2. Use pain as a forge, not as a curse. Pain is inevitable, but the way you interpret it is a choice. Some see pain as a curse and bury themselves in it. Others use it like a forge of fire that shapes something stronger, more resistant, purer. The pain did not come to destroy you, it came to reveal the most powerful within you. Each loss, every betrayal, each fall carries a built-in lesson, as a present-wrapped gift. It's hard, I know. But if you face each blow like a sharp blade instead of a crushing sledgehammer, it will begin to grow where before there was only wounded. Suffering can be a teacher or jailer, you choose. A practical way to apply this is to ask, even in the worst days, what is this situation trying to teach me? It may seem like baking, but this simple question changes the victim's mental posture to the forcener. The pain is no longer an end in itself and becomes a personal construction tool. So the next time life strikes you, take a deep breath and think, I'm being cut, not broken. This small change of perspective can transform today's hell into tomorrow's unshakable strength. It is in the trial furnace that the greatest warriors find their true form. 3. Protect your inner fortress. Your mind is your last refuge. If you lose her, lose everything. It's no use winning goods, applause, or status if you are broken inside. Your peace cannot be negotiated in exchange for approval or instant success. To keep your mind, literally protect your life in a world that tries to invade it all the time. Taking care of your inner fortress is learning to say no to toxic conversations, news that only plant fear, and comparisons that undermine your self-esteem. It's not being alienated, it's being selective. You don't allow anyone to invade your home without permission, right? So why allow this inside your mind? A practical way to start is to pay attention to everything you consume: social networks, music, series, even casual conversations. Ask yourself, does this build or destroy my peace here? If it is poison disguised as entertainment, cut in the root. Your sanity is worth much more than any passing distraction. Remember, every great empire fell when it neglected its walls. Your mind is your wall. Protecting it is more than a gesture of self-preservation, it is an act of self-love. Without this firm fortress, even the most glorious victories become empty. 4. Practice voluntary discomfort. Real growth does not happen on the neck of comfort. He is born in discomfort, in that uncomfortable territory where most give up. If you only train when you want, it only studies when it is easy, it only advances when everything conspires in favor, it will always be at the mercy of circumstances. Training in discomfort is creating strength to resist the royal war. Voluntary discomfort is to choose discipline before life imposes you pain. It is getting up early when I could sleep more, it is to study instead of distracting yourself, it is facing the fear in front. They are small daily sacrifices that, accumulated, build emotional armor that the world cannot pierce. Want to start? Choose a little discomfort a day. It can be to take a cold shower, do that hard workout, talk to someone you avoid. Nothing big at first, the important thing is to train the mind to understand that discomfort does not kill. On the contrary, strengthens, afia, prepares. It is better to choose your discomfort than to be overwhelmed by him later. So every time you come across the easy and the difficult option, remember the most comfortable path rarely leads you to your next level. Anyone who gets used to practicing peace discomfort is prepared to survive when the real war begins. 5. Facet mortality. Live with urgency. Most people live as if they have an infinite stock of days guarded in their pockets. But the truth is brutal. Every dawn is one day less, not more. To face mortality itself is not to be morbid, it is to be awake. It is understanding that the time lost today is a piece of life that never returns. When you face the fact that your existence has a deadline, life gains another color. Shallow conversations lose their grace, distractions lose their shine, and what really matters begins to call louder. To live urgently is to live with purpose, not despair. It is knowing that each choice has weight. Want to apply this now? Stop postponing that project that makes you vibrate. Stop leaving it to when time left. What your heart knows is essential. Time is not left, time takes over. Those who live waiting for the perfect moment die waiting. Who understands the urgency creates the perfect moment. So every time you get by postponing something that is important, ask yourself, if today it was my last day, would I leave it for tomorrow? If the answer is no, go and do it. Because the truth is simple, one day, this tomorrow will not arrive. And only what will be left will be what you had the courage to live. 6. Transform each fall into a test. Falling is part of the walk, but what defines who you are is not the fall, it's the way you get up. Each fall can be interpreted as a shame or as a test. And those who see the test behind the pain understands that failure is not the end, but the process of strengthening for the next phase. Obstacles are not in your way to destroy you, they are the way. Without resistance, there is no growth. Without challenges, there is no evolution. Great warriors do not form on easy trails, but on rugged terrain, where each scar tells a story of overcoming, not defeat. Want to practice this mindset? Every time something goes wrong, resist the temptation to blame yourself or seek guilty. Instead, ask, what can I learn here? How can I become better from that? This little change of focus takes you out of the victim position and puts you in control of your own journey. So in the next fall, remember, it is not a sign that you are weak. It is an invitation to become even stronger. Each time you refuse to give up, even graded, even bleeding, you prove to yourself that you are much bigger than you think. Now that you have walked with me for every invisible battle, tell me, how long will you leave your scars hidden in the dark, as if they were ashamed and not medals? How many more days will postpone the transformation that has already started inside you without realizing it? Real Stoicism, the one forged by pain, is not a theory, it is a daily choice. You have, right now, everything you need to shape your own fortress. Every blow you took, every silent tear, each lonely night was a disguised force class. Are you ready to honor this? Are you willing to turn pain into fuel and obstacles into ascension trails? Do not let these truths be only in theory. Look at your story and recognize you are much more resilient, much stronger than you thought. And the best is yet to come, if you have the courage to continue forging this unshakable version of yourself. If this message spoke to your soul, subscribe to the channel and activate the notifications. Here you will find much more than words, you will find reminders of who you really are and who you will still become.